Hey y'all, Melissa here with you today, and today's project is this knit baby dress. So this has bound armholes, and that makes it sleeveless and perfect for summer. And then I've used clear elastic to gather in the waist, and I'm going to show you how to do that. So meet me back after the introduction to find out pattern and fabric and supply information. Let's talk supplies. Now I am using the Blank Slate Pattern Snuggle PJs pattern, and I will link you below to a post where you can either buy this pattern to use, or there's an option for a free one size baby t-shirt pattern. That's only going to fit really tiny babies. So what I did was I measured 2.5 inches down the side seam here, and then I just folded it up. You would add about 1/4 inch more to each size. So this is a size 12 months. If you were making the 18 months, measure 2 3/4 inches down the side seam. And that's going to give me a little bit of a raised bodice. I went ahead and I cut out the neckband pieces based on the pattern, but then I am making this sleeveless, so I had to cut out armhole pieces. So let me show you how to figure out what you're cutting for the armbands. What you want to do is on your front and back bodice, you want to measure from the center of the little notch all the way on the seam line down to the side edge. So like right here, I've got 5 3/8 inches. You want to do that on the front and then add that measurement to the back. So I'll start at 5 3/8 inches and measure on up to my center of the notch, which gets me right to 10.5. And then you want to take that measurement, you want to multiply it by 0.9, and then you also want to add 1 inch. Here's why. The 0.9 is going to make the band a little bit smaller than the arm side so that it'll make it hug in a little bit. And then you add the 1 inch because that's the seam allowance on this pattern. There's a 1/2 inch, so you have the 1/2 inch on the front and the 1/2 inch on the back that are the seam allowances. Then you want to cut your armband strips to those lengths. Finally, I have a skirt that I cut out, and I just did one pattern piece because I was able to fold my fabric in half to make the skirt. I will also have a link in that post to a skirt measurement chart, so you can determine how long of a skirt you need to cut and how wide of a skirt you want. It depends on how much gathering you want your skirt to have. Finally, I have clear elastic here. And you don't have to use clear elastic to do the skirt gathering. That's what I'm going to show you. But you could use regular elastic and it would work the same. I would just caution you, if you're using regular elastic and a serger, to make sure not to cut the sides of the elastic because it'll cause it to unravel. If you're using clear elastic, that is less of a concern because if the elastic gets cut down the center, it's not going to unravel because it's not woven to begin with. All right, I am not going to show you how to attach the neck bands, neck binding and arm binding because that is going to be in that baby t-shirt video. So I will link that at the end of this video and also below. Find one of those two places and watch it if you need assistance for how to attach the binding. Let's take a look real quick at how I apply these armbands. It's the exact same method that I used on the front and back neck, just like shown in that other video. But so I'm going to overlap this. The back goes over the front on top, and then you match at the notches. And then all I do to add on the armbands is fold them in half, match the center point to the center of that notch, and then go through that whole process the same way that I did on the neckline. I just go ahead and pin that arm binding, and then I'll stitch it and flip it. Once I have the arm binding sewn on once, before I flip it to the inside and stitch, I'm actually going to fold my bodice in half, and I'm going to match that binding seam I'm going to press my seam allowances towards the binding and then stitch right down that seam. Then I can come back and flip the binding to the inside and top stitch it to hold it in place. So here's what the bodice looks like once the armholes are bound. And then the next step is going to be to get a piece of the clear elastic, which is going to be used to both gather the waistline and support it. You need your clear elastic to be the same length as the waistline so that it'll go all the way around your waistline. Then what you need to do is take your skirt piece or pieces and you need to sew so that you've got a loop of skirt. If you've got just one piece sewn together, I like to put that seam at center back. So folded it this way. And then what you want to do is you're going to take the bodice and you're going to place it right sides together with the skirt. And match the center fronts, the center back, and the side seams. Alright, then here's what the tricky part is going to be. You want to quarter the clear elastic as well. So what I do is I start with the center front, and instead of pinning, I prefer to use clips on this. And then take that, figure out where the quarter mark would be, and go match that point to the side seam. And then your two elastic ends are going to end up matching at the center back. But I only match one of them to start with. The other one I'll match as I stitch around. All right, let's take this over the machine and I will show you how I sew all of this together. Okay, here I am at my serger and I want to start by getting the end of the elastic and that back seam allowance and the bodice fabric as close to the needles as I can. So I'm going to slide it under the presser foot there. And then until I get the needle into the elastic, I don't want to stretch, I don't want to move anything, I'm just trying to hold those layers in alignment with each other. Okay, needle has hit the elastic. So what I want to do now is I want to stretch from my quarter point until the elastic is as long as my skirt piece. I'm trying to get these all flat here. And this is the hardest part when you're just beginning. Once you get some of the elastic behind the needle, it is easier to stretch from both sides to pull it through. And as I stretch, I am trying to keep the elastic just away from the blade. But if it does cut a little bit, that's okay. It's nothing to freak out about. Okay, y'all, when you have attached that elastic on the waist, here's what it's going to look like. Again, if you sewed this on a regular machine, you would just use a zigzag stitch and the process would be the same. Now, if this is a little difficult, getting those two layers of fabric together plus stretching the elastic, you can actually do this in 2 steps. The first step would be stretching the elastic to gather the skirt in, and then the second step would be attaching the elastic skirt combo to the bodice. It's totally fine to do it that way as well. Once you turn this right side out, here is what the dress looks like. And then all you need to do to finish it, which I've gone ahead and done already, is add a hem. And I'm going to add links below to videos on hemming knits so that you can see what some of your options are.